Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid South Wrestling Review Series. My goal is to have the entire year of 1984 up by no later than January 2nd. So, hopefully, the next few days going to have a lot of content for you. I have watched up until the month of November begins. So, it seems like we could get that done. Anyway, we start with April 7th here. Mr. Wrestling 2 and Joe Savoldi. Savoldi, of course, part of the Savoldi family that were major forces in the upper New England area, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, in the IWCCW days, which I think IWCCW are ultimately late 80s, I think. That's correct. Anyway, Wrestling 2 starts here, and he's your heel for the most part. Savoldi has been doing enhancement work for a couple of months here. Goes for arm bars and arm locks, goes back to the headlock. Obviously, Wrestling 2 being the heel, trying to cheat along the way, but doesn't really go heavy on the cheating, only does that when he's really, really frustrated. Obviously, we have a lot of new faces in the area, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, and the like at the peak of their deal. But Wrestling 2 still remains a pretty big deal here. The Irish whips and side headlock takeovers and the like. Savoldi ends up doing pretty okay until he gets caught in the head scissors, then floats over, and Wrestling 2 manages to get as much of an impact as he can, rides the front face lock for a bit of a time, and ultimately shots by Wrestling 2, shot to the midsection, and he, kind of does the cutoff to the best of his ability, and Wrestling 2 manages to pick up a victory. Obviously, after his, kind of a body slam, and then picks the man back up and manages to hit the back body drop and hit the knee lift. 1, 2, 3, and away we go. Then we move to Mike Jackson and Jeff Young, relatively newcomers to the enhancement talent area of things, against the Midnight Express. Beautiful Bobby, Sweet Stan. Of course, Midnight Express already have been tag team champions. Think they're still tag team champions here. Jim Cornette does their, yes, they are, tag team champions here, does their introductions. Basic stuff. Mike Jackson, of course, has been a major enhancement talent guy, been around the area for a while. And, Bobby Eaton starts off. Bobby Eaton, daring man, wearing white. I don't know, white tights has always kind of been one of those things. Anyway, tie up both men. Eaton cuts the ring off a little bit. The Young comes in, cranks the headlock on Bobby Eaton for a while. Eaton's so phenomenal, just doing simple things like just selling for his adversary, doing everything he possibly can to get even an enhancement talent over. Jim Cornette drawing on the outside, big surprise there. Double team continuously, or pretty continuously, by the adversaries. And again, we see the suplex set up for the second rope power slam by the Express, and the champions, obviously, pick up a victory off of that. 1, 2, 3, and away they go. And again, we kind of continue to see some dominance from the Midnight Express. John King and Terry Taylor. Taylor, of course, has been a mainstay in the area for a good bit of time now. Taylor still, he's done the deal with Khrushchev a bit and gotten some advantages where he can, but continues to be an upper level baby face. We see arm ringers, arm bars, and the likes from him. We then kind of see him float over a bit and use whatever advantage he can grab. He manages to kind of stay on the arm for a good bit here and also get the 5 arm to get a victory. He continues to be a guy that, I wouldn't say has had no challenges. His programs are coming a little bit down the road here, not too terribly far, but far enough. Anyway, we kind of continue to see that go forward. Then, kind of a bigger match is going to develop. The new, I'd say reasonably new, within the last month or two, alliance between Butch Reed and Buddy Landel, which actually, from what I understand in listening to various podcasts, including Jim Cornette's podcast, ends up being quite the friendship backstage as well. Reed and Landel managed to be in a tag team match with the Rock and Roll Express, which we will cover here momentarily. Just an interesting pairing, though, as we kind of see things going forward, in the team aspect of things a little more here in Mid South in mid '84 or so. Tag teams meaning a little bit more than they used to, and also teams kind of being something where it's more, they're more prominent and more featured in general than they were a while back. And so obviously the Rock and Roll Express, former tag team champions, still in the midst of their deal with the Midnight Express, and that will continue over several promotions and several years. But they are in the midst of this with the team of Reed and Landel. Obviously, Landel manages to kind of be the guy to get the heat. Reed manages to be the guy to get the power and bring the punishment, so to speak. And so that is an interesting and often tried and true version of how things work, right? Anyway, that match is here, and we, kind of see the takeover early by the babyfaces. Babyface shine, very important to Mid South. I think even the fans come to expect the baby faces in Mid South to get their shine every match, or if not every other. Anyway, kind of we see Reed leading the charge as far as things moving forward. Landel kind of being the disturber, so to speak. If momentum's going to get broken, it's there. Ricky Morton still looks reasonably young-ish, which is just weird seeing him all these 30 years later. Takeovers early on both men, and you'd never, expect anything less than that from the Rock and Roll. Morton at a point takes over on both guys pretty simply, and is not intimidated by that. Then we kind of see Morton pick up Landel, who I believe is legal man at the point. Drops the fists and all of that. Landel, beautiful selling as things are there. Cornette shown on the outside of the ring, taking notes on a notepad. So trying to get advantages in scouting, I would assume, over the Rock and Roll Express. And there's a point where Ricky Morton can't really move his opponent in Butch Reed, and Reed comes back with a drop kick and then takes back over. Again, Reed, powerful yet agile, interesting combination, good combination. Back elbow by Reed, and he continues with the body slams, double teams by Reed and Landel, and we kind of see some good run there. Ultimately, it's there, and a breakdown in the match. And again, we kind of see match going a little longer than average. I think there's a desire to see what you can get out of Reed and Landel here, and also the Rock and Roll Express, probably the most popular act in the area at the time. I think the Junkyard Dog leaves within a few little while of this, and I say that only because Master G appears, and he only appears because Junkyard Dog has left, or he's only pushed as heavily because Junkyard Dog has left, and Bill Watts has a formula in the area that includes a African American baby face. as a part of that formula. Anyway, we see kicks and cutoffs. Oddly enough, Ricky Morton spends the majority of the match in ring. A press slam by Reed onto the adversaries, and there's a long 2 count there. Landell is frustrated with the inability to get the victory, as one would be expected to be. Double back elbow. Anyway, Robert Gibson comes in and hits pretty um, pretty aggressively there, and we see some shoulder tackles, among other things. Cornette brings the top rope down on Robert Gibson. Gibson goes spilling over the top to the floor. Morton manages to, and actually, there's the inference. The camera didn't catch it, but there's the inference that the chair that Cornette was sitting in, Gibson might have landed on. Needless to say, there's the posing of Reed. Reed also manages to maybe have something in his tights that he pulls out, and he nails Ricky Morton with that, and that leads to the win for the heels. Nikolai Volkov and Masa Ito against Poffo and Weingraf. Poffo still here. A bit surprising. I thought he'd left already, but that is not the case. Volkov and Ito seem like, an interesting foreign duo. Again, this is still 1984 when ethnic heels still a thing. I think that remains probably till, I don't know, maybe the mid '90s, something like that. Not as prominent in the early in the mid '90s, but certainly for another 10 years, you can have foreign heels, and it's a big deal. Anyway, Poffo comes in, gets pretty aggressively kicked off in the lateral press he attempts. Double teaming by Ito and Volkov, and Ito hits a leg drop across the chin and kind of goes that way. Double trip there, and Poffo tries to make his way to the corner. That doesn't come about completely as Volkov manages to hit some deals there. Hard kicks by Volkov. Volkov manages to kick Poffo and ultimately leads to his team getting the victory. Bob Owens, relative newcomer into the enhancement talent against Magnum TA. TA obviously still a major force in the area, takes the shirt off, gets jumped from behind by Owens. Match doesn't go too terribly long as Owens does take over a little bit, some back elbows and really basic stuff by the adversary there. Meanwhile, Magnum manages to fire up a little bit, gets a little bit of fire and some Irish whips along the way, drop kick under the chin, as is to be expected, and then the belly-to-belly suplex. They're also promoting a road trip to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the Mid-South crew, and a continuation of the expansion of the promotion. We'll be back with more right after this.